Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Half the Race Gone. Tonight we are racing in Project Cars 2. We are doing the Apex Online Racing GT3 Championships on PlayStation 4. Dirten and me are both parked in the pits there, as you see. Dirten just had a bit of an off in practice. It's the right time to push hard. We're both in Audis, as you can see. He's gonna be alongside me in voice chat. He is in fact right here.
Yeah, I am right here, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here alongside let's see how smooth he is, boy.
The not so smooth boy.
And I'm also, I think I have a simple goal for tonight. It's not to crash, and then we'll see how everything else goes after that.
Absolutely,
So
I think that should be the goal of anyone here. I think in this race, qualifying is really important because it's very hard to make up track positions, especially if your key priority is staying safe. So those will be 10 intense minutes, and then it's going to be all survival for the next hour.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And also just to make sure that you don't get into a rhythm of pushing the tires too hard, that just forget how you have to drive the car when the tires get worn, and all these things that we've learned over the first couple of races here in the AOR matters. And it's not to degrade GT Sport or anything, but when you're driving these, it's just an hour. I was just about to say just an hour. It is tough enough making the car last an hour, at least in my experience. But it does require more of you than GT Sport, whereas GT Sport is, sometimes it feels like you're just able to hammer down those perfect laps, just lap after lap after lap at maximum attack, or so you'd say in rallying. That's certainly not possible in Project Cars 2, or at least there perhaps is a way to do it, but it requires a very specific setup, a very specific driving style to not overheat the tires and all these things.
That's true, and I want to say especially mentally, because the feeling of getting closer to the limit is quite different compared to Project Cars, where even pretty close to the limit, as long as your inputs are pretty much where they need to be, it feels very safe and planted. So a funny way of telling that it's a different game is that I never wore gloves when racing. I use a Logitech G29, and when I raced leagues and GT Sport, I never really felt the need to wear gloves, but I certainly do in Project Cars 2. It's the first time I've really tried the death grip to the point where it actually hurts a little bit. So that might be a subjective thing, that might be something that I'm experiencing, but yeah, it certainly feels like a different level of simulation as far as risks and also the engineering side of things, as you mentioned. Very important to keep tire pressures correct, watch out for temperatures. I've done a lot of thinking about brake duct openings for cooling of the brakes versus aerodynamics, the same with radiator openings. Yeah.
There is so many things to consider all of a sudden, and it's much more a question of the right setup is the right compromise, more than the right setup is just the absolutely fastest one. And welcome to the stick man, the VRS stick himself, of TSR Motorsport, also an avid Project Cars gamer himself, as far as I understand. And
yeah, I've seen him on a few times, and welcome to the other guys watching. Welcome to Half the Race Gone. I mean, I am running raw, but watching the levels, I don't feel like I have any clipping. I'm not running that much strength on it, so I don't think it's too bad. I am keeping in mind that I'm on a G29 that has like a 3 Newton meter output, so it's there's a limit to how much power I can ask of the wheel without having heavy clipping issues. As we see Dirten taking off there, I'm thinking about doing the same. Want to get a bit of warm up before we get going here. As you can see, I've changed my setup description to best setup instead of stable or loose, so that's gonna be key to victory tonight.
That your setup is the best.
Yeah, it says so in the description, so you know it's true.
Can we cue some Tina Turner? So Long Beach, if Traels can hop on and monitor me, I can take you on a lap, because it's not necessarily a track that so many of our viewers would be familiar with, and it's certainly not a track that I myself, of course, I knew of it in terms of existence, in terms of what it is culturally and such. Culturally, of course. Racing does have different cultures of racing across the world, so you could say that the American racing culture, the track of Long Beach does have a special fate.
Get ready to enter a blistering lap, presumably here at Long Beach.
Yeah, my tires are still cold, so I probably won't be pushing 100% because that's just gonna end bad. Both tires and brakes need temperature, and they don't have it yet. But I'll take you around. So the start-finish straight has this long sweeping bend that you don't really need to think about too much. Then at the 500-foot marker, early braking for turn 1. Oh, and as you see, Plebness 101 puts it into the wall.
I saw that
cold
coming.
Tires. Yeah, I saw that coming too. And I even tried to brake early enough, but it is really... I must admit, I spent a lot of time getting very confused about brake markers for this track.
I want to say, just looking at the lines, I don't really agree with any of your brake markers or a lot of your lines. You really need to cut the curb a lot more on the banked exit corner.
Oh yeah, but
get on the curb.
True,
it's also way safer on cold tires.
You put your car right with one wheel across and the other wheel on the other side. You can like split it in two like that. That's what. Oh, no, late. Oh.
I'm gonna exit your view. I need to get some warm up as well. Maybe the viewers will have the chance to view something that isn't a crash, but you never know.
I'm just getting my crashing over with now.
Yeah, that's a clever thing.
And there's also a reason that I turned off damage for this lobby, so crashing wouldn't necessarily mean pitting all the time.
Oh, the cold brakes though are real. Yeah, Stick, I can imagine with the Fanatec wheel it has quite a different level of output. I'm dying to try one of those higher level wheels. I haven't actually tried anything better than a Thrustmaster GT at this point.
Hey, we tried the TGT at the motor show we went to, not really knowing it was the TGT. I think it's just getting
we were
in.
Just like, what is this generic Thrustmaster wheel? It feels nice enough, but all the settings are completely wrong. So, and we were running like manual and low force feedback settings. So,
and we were running automatic gearbox, and we weren't allowed to change it. Plus, we were running with all the assists you could possibly imagine on. So you had like braking assists and steering assists and stuff like that. That you, when you. I was just about to say, when you know what you're doing.
When you know what you're doing with experience and the Logitech G29. I don't know.
But you know what I mean. At least with concerns to GT Sport. But surely it's gonna be a fun race today. I must admit, I'm, to say the least, slightly nervous about the opening laps. especially of course first lap coming into turn 1. If someone, I mean, just someone, it doesn't have to be more than one guy necessarily. If he, you know, missing the brake marker, seriously, and everything is gonna go.
Yeah, I gotta say, I did the thing you try not to do before going on a plane ride. I found videos on YouTube of pileups at Long Beach in the AOR. And there's like there's a bunch of them. So preemptive Fs would be due here, I think. But
yeah,
let's see
we're gonna see.
how it goes.
Well, let's see how it goes.
But I mean, my tier looks fine. It's more a matter of me being of me being safe, I guess. I was the one that caused, or well, helped to cause an incident last time around. As a viewer update, I did indeed get 5 penalty points for that mess up of the start procedure. So a bit of drama there, but I of course accept my penalty completely. Hopefully I've learned from my mistakes.
Yeah.
They say you've jumped the start.
I predict a quiet race, not in terms of a quiet race. There's probably going to be tons of action in my race, but I don't predict I'm going to be speaking too much, at least not through the opening couple of rounds. I'm thinking to give you some updates along the way, and then of course chip in where I can to the discussion and the talking, of course without throwing the old Traels boy completely off. It is a difficult balance, isn't it?
It really is.
How much
it really
do you
is.
chat?
It's certainly a part of my plans as well to maybe talk a bit less than I did last time around and focus on the job at hand. I'm sure the viewers can appreciate that, especially returning viewers who saw how it went for me last time around.
It didn't go too well, but at Monza was a big disaster for both of us, at least.
Yeah.
Or at least, I don't know if that's the thing. It's not at least. It could have been better, but it certainly wasn't, and it. Yeah. There's but I've definitely felt that there's been many lessons to learn from each of the races, each of the 2 races we've done so far in the AOR, and there'll probably be loads more when we see the checkered flag tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's quite an interesting learning curve for me, coming from the less sim-oriented games. This, I really feel like I'm learning all the time. I imagine you feel the same way. Whoa. The rake dash stick. I don't think I'm familiar with that. I've altered my display settings and the menu, but I don't think that's what you mean. By the way, a question for you, Stig. Do you have any experience with the Crew Chief app that you can run with the UDP info and get info in on your phone? Because it sounds cool, but it really needs to work well for me to buy it and wear an extra headset.
Yeah.
But supposedly, I don't know if I've told you too much about it, Dirten, but supposedly it's the spotter and the Crew Chief are like one combined unit, and it's way better. Whoa! I just got the invite and I looked at it instead of looking at the track.
Oh, the invites are here already. I felt ready for a long time. Now I don't feel ready at all anymore.
Yeah, I'm halfway worried that my tire pressures aren't perfect, but it's hard to tell when you start running late on in the time progression of the time space we're supposed to be racing, and we're practicing at the same time the race is gonna be. And it seems like it cools down a little bit later on.
Yeah.
So I'm betting to have nice pressure later on, whereas I think Dirten is betting on not getting too hurt early on when they heat up.
So
yeah, okay, so then it's the same as me. I want to try it. Guess I'm gonna have to do it. Could be useful information for the viewers out there as well. I don't know why I'm chilling. I was doing this to get an extra lap or two in before I join the lobby, and then I'm just rolling around.
I was just thinking, I've got the invitation as well. I guess it is time. I guess it is time. Or more or less.
More or less. Yeah. I don't know how it's gonna work with the party chat while we're chilling in the lobby, because I think I'm gonna try to like switch back and forth a little bit just so I can get try to get any information they give out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also thinking about switching to the other chat at least for a couple of minutes as I'm joining, and probably also for the race start. But how the hell am I gonna switch it back after the race start? That's not even, I can't. That's problematic. We spoke about that last time as well.
Yeah, streaming is quite problematic, to be honest, in a league like this.
Better jump in. They're already 11.
I'm just gonna finish out this lap and join the lobby. I see people chatting about how little practice they've had. I think anyone who's ever done any sport is familiar with the fact that that's pretty much all you talk about before the competition. Certainly no one has done any practice at all, and they've also been sick, and their aunt has been unwell, or... Yeah. Oh, nice way to finish it off. Let's join the lobby.
Islands in my lobby, but I'm just gonna go in and greet everyone.
Oh, sick. Congrats on the win in the lap attack there, Stick. That's funny about the G29. It'll have to be like software differences, won't it? That's strange. Well, was it better? Here's to hoping that the G29 feels better when I start playing on PC, I guess. Anyway, just gonna hop into the party chat, into the lobby chat real quick.